This PhD project is called Hiki-game-ori, a proposed framework for therapeutic game development for socially isolated audiences. It investigates gaming features and elements that can be useful when creating game-based interventions to help those with extreme social isolation. Social isolation has been a problem in many countries for decades now, being exacerbated after the COVID-19 pandemic. Social isolation can lead to health and psychological problems and even death in extreme cases. In Japan, extreme social isolation has been studied for decades and is known as Hiki-game-ori. Hiki-game-ori has many proposed definitions, which range from a person staying long periods of time at home to a form of pathological social withdrawal that can be separated into different levels of severity. To tackle this problem, private and public entities have been looking for ways to help those afflicted, and one way to potentially do so is to use video games as intervention tools to encourage people to leave their homes more often. However, it still isn't clear what game elements should be included in game-based interventions and why they may help with the resocialization success, though research has been done to offer some insight into these questions. The location-based game genre has been suggested as a useful tool for fostering player socialization. Past research with Pokemon Go players has found that a sense of belonging could facilitate social connections, while researchers who studied the Hikikomori phenomenon noticed that some Hikikomori players went out more often when playing location-based games like Pokemon Go. Research has also investigated game genres popular with Hikikomori players, such as RPGs and action games, and found possible links between empathy, relaxation, and visual novels in Hikikomori players. Despite these suggestions, no study has actively tried if game-based interventions made with these features could help Hikikomori players in returning to more social lifestyles. Given this gap, the study aims to use the suggested features in the literature to create small games, use them in experiments with participants that are at high risk of becoming Hikikomori, and from their feedback, propose a framework with game design suggestions for future game-based interventions for resocialization. This study aims to answer the following questions. What game features could be more or less helpful to help socially isolated players leave their homes more often and encourage constructive communication between socially isolated players? This project will use suggestions from the literature and findings from my master's study to develop small games with different game features and ask high-risk Hikikomori players to play them. The participants' feelings of loneliness and their Hikikomori risk level will be measured before and after the intervention, along with their opinion on the game as a whole and individual aspects of it. Using this feedback, I will improve the developed games for a second round of experiments, and after it, we'll summarize the findings to propose a framework for game design practices and elements that may be helpful towards a game-based intervention for resocialization. In conclusion, games can be powerful tools to help those with extreme social isolation. This research aims to investigate game genres that could be interesting for Hikikomori audiences through experiments, and to use their feedback to propose a framework of game design practices for game-based intervention to aid in Hikikomori resocialization.